just because something is different doesn't always make it better. But to be better, it always has to be different. And when you think about that, if you're bringing things as a consultant, as a broker, as an advisor, your job is to look outside the box and not do what everyone else is doing.
It's going to basically increase the employee's paycheck. It's going to save them on payroll tax, and it's going to give them better benefits.
Anyone's capable of whatever they want to do. But again, the trade-off is how many hundreds, if not thousands of hours did I spend and sacrifice other parts of my life not to do that? But then you look at it, it's like, what would I have done? I would have probably watched Netflix or done other stuff that you look back and there's nothing that you can obtain from it.
Right. And once again, I'm door to door. So I'm going door to door, and I go onto this auto salvage place. Nice people. I walked in, sat in their garage, and I ended up selling a small insurance plan to this older gentleman. Well, about a year and a half later, I'm at home and I'm watching Netflix, and it says Making a Murderer on there. And it says the trial of Stephen Avery, and I see the building. That's the place that I sold the insurance plan on, man.
Those are the people that we want to work with, because not only on a two-way vesting street with it, but those are people that are going to have the most success the quickest when they can actually walk in with the track record there they have.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Playbook, joined by Rio and Daniel Giles. Today we have the CEO of Affordacare. This is Stephen Guilfoile, as well as his VP, I believe it was. His VP over here, Mitchell. We got some really cool things to go through with you guys today. These two very, very unique and interesting humans. They've built something, an absolute juggernaut in the health space. And first and foremost, man, Little Birdie told me something interesting that I kind of want to kick this off with. You're doing something that's different that nobody in the world has ever done before. How did you even get yourself into that position, and what is it?
I've been there. Well, there's a lot of things, and I think the statute of limitations hasn't totally evaded on those yet. So I think, are you talking about the space stuff?
I might be talking about the space stuff.
So as of now, and somebody could still beat me to it if you're watching this, but we're set to be the first people ever married in outer space, me and my fiance.
Okay.
So
how do you even come to that, man? That's a crazy proclamation to make. I'm getting married in space. Like what got you there?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at your business, right, and you look at what you're doing in ways that, you have so many years to live on this earth, and what are you going to do with that time? What do you do to make an impression and make a statement? And so when you're doing things and acting in ways that not everybody's doing, and it doesn't need to be work related, it could be personal, business, family, friendships, and I think it's a great statement of, kind of overlooking the world as one of the most important days of your life.
Yeah, it's a big play box, man. So what does that even look like? What's the dynamic of going to space? Like you guys go to a spaceship one day? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so I've actually had quite a few things with a lot of NASA astronauts, and actually have gone through all the stuff. I filled 3 buckets of puke up so far.
Wow.
Doing that.
Do you have to get to 5?
Once you're at 5, then you're basically you're good. Yeah,
3 in order to go to space.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
So those little things you see on the people's jackets and stuff, those chevrons, whatever. Yeah, there's a puke bucket chevron on there too that you may not know about. So, yeah.
Okay, very cool. So, obviously, I know that you started Affordacare. I know a little bit about it. Our company is looking at starting that plan with you guys. Obviously, in order to get married in space, take some capital, I'm sure. How much does that look like?
Less than a couple million, more than a couple 100,000. So
okay.
we'll give the range, I guess, with that.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, we had to get one of the pilots ordained actually to do it. And the thing that we actually don't know about is it an annulable marriage, as a little trivia fact, because there's not, by the power invested in me by certain state, they don't have that anymore. Yeah.
Interesting.
So maybe if that works, we'll see how it goes.
Who is this with? Is this like Blue Origin? What is this? Who's it with?
It's one of the big 4 that does this, and this is one of the ones that's kind of set up to have where you actually can have kind of seating and actually have kind of a big window and stuff on it too, so you can actually some pretty cool stuff. But actually a potential client of ours as well, so it's kind of a little, all right, we'll take some of your stuff,
scratch back. Yeah.
And I would say that's probably the biggest thing of, if we're going to talk about how we've added value and how we've gotten the clients we have, it's about bringing something to the table first, not asking for money up front, but truly bringing something and not being a salesperson, bringing value first and saying, hey, by the way, now that I've brought this to you, saved you this much money, done this for you, brought you a client, this is what we do, and we'd love to be able to collaborate and work together on that.
Yeah, so I was licensed in life and health for about 4 years. That's what I started as, is life insurance, health insurance, and I actually never heard of any plans like you guys have. As far as like the supplemental health group coverage that you guys are offering, how did you start Affordacare, and how did you create it into what it is now?
Well, it wouldn't be without Mitch, and the amount of time and work and dedication and effort on that, it's incredible. And looking back, and how many times have we looked back and like remember the times in the living room looking through this and like seeing like how we first, set up, what a presentation was, or like the first website, and just how much it's changed, right? But I will let Mitch actually take that one, because it's
Tell us about
incredible.
Affordacare, man.
It's one of those things where it's trial and error. It's like any entrepreneurial, idea. We weren't perfect, obviously, starting off, and we wanted to create a good culture. We did a lot of trial and error, basically, and we started with kind of the group side of things, correct? We went into the group space, and obviously group health insurance is something that's very familiar. Everybody was doing it. Then we came across this unique supplemental plan. So we needed to figure out, I guess, how we can integrate a unique product that not many people have seen, that businesses absolutely needed. How can we integrate that into something that we're already good at doing? And that's what we've done.
Yeah, the process seems so much different, because usually when you deal with insurance, it's like it's not a fun process. You don't like talking to insurance agents, but the difference with what you guys do is what?
Well, it's a matter of, we've got such a unique product that businesses are just not used to hearing. Because businesses at this point right now are used to, yeah, we can save you money on your group health insurance, right? Or we've got these other plans. They've heard
if
that.
you want to lose benefits.
Yeah.
Pick or choose what you want to lose.
At the end of the day, they're so used to hearing that. So we needed to flip that on its lid. So we had to find a very unique product that businesses get excited about and pair that with what we're already good at. And that's what we've done. We got access to the program, paired it together, and it's been great for us.
So I'm a business owner right now watching this. I've got 50 guys that are W-2s on my team. Why do I need to talk to you?
Well, here's the thing, is that outside of payroll, health insurance is the single biggest expense you have, right? And it goes up, and we hate it, and it sucks, and everything else. We already know, right? So the idea is, and one of the fundamental things that I really try to live by is that just because something is different doesn't always make it better. Mm-hmm. But to be better, it always has to be different. And when you think about that, if you're bringing things as a consultant, as a broker, as an advisor, your job is to look outside the box and not do what everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, the supplemental plan is designed to have a profound impact on the renewals, the loss runs, and things that actually have a direct result with it, right? So nothing has changed in this space. It's just how we can take some benefits of pre-tax dollars, and also how life insurance is set up, and other benefits where if you have an insurance claim, you don't owe tax on that money when that comes in. So the idea is kind of combining these things, allowing us to pay people effectively for being healthy and pay them on an insurance basis on it is a huge aspect, right? It's kind of like a combination of like a safe driver discount on car insurance, Credit Karma, where you can kind of know like how your health is, or how your credit, with, hey, if I paid off these 2 credit cards, my score would go up by this amount. Mm-hmm. So empowering people to have a actual profound impact on their life, their health, and the overall group. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So real quick. So I'm not very smart. So
you can work for us, then. Yeah, you're hired.
Not either.
So
I love these podcasts.
If when people are confused, they don't take action. So I know you kind of just went through it. Like, break it down in layman's terms, what exactly like the CHAMP plan is and how it's going to help, like make business owners like us understand it.
I can take that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, this product addresses the 3 major concerns that business owners face, right? They want to save money, they want to increase their employees' paychecks, and they want better benefits, okay? The great thing is this program does that. The problem is all these business owners want to give that, right? But they can't afford to. I mean, let's face it, the price of everything's going through the roof right now, right? So we could not have come at a better time to introduce this product, because at the end of the day, if you want a nutshell approach on this, it's going to basically increase the employee's paycheck. It's going to save them on payroll tax, and it's going to give them better benefits. And in the back end, How? So how it's going to do it is all the employee is required to do is basically participate in a wellness program. So they're going to watch a 5 to 7 minute video about bettering their health. And the way this program works is it actually pays an insurance claim for taking a virtual treatment to better your health. That insurance claim is going to boost that employee's paycheck. And in the background, for every employee that enrolls in this program, the business owner saves almost $600 of payroll tax.
Maybe I'm not getting this, but does any of this have to do with the fact that usually when a group is given a risk rating, it's based, it's a lot easier to get qualified, and I'm assuming that's why there's a blanket price for everything. Is this like per individual, and when their health is, I guess, more specifically looked at individually? Is that what helps get those savings because they're getting a better rating?
Yeah, the savings is, I would look at it in two ways. And if you're a business owner, if you've done payroll, just to make this super simple, there's things you can take as pre-tax deductions. That would be like a 401k, your existing health plan, dental and vision, things like that. And then there's also plans you can purchase like life insurance, a Roth, other like cash payment plans that says, hey, if you have a medical event happen, we can pay you a fixed dollar amount for that, right? Kind of like a life insurance. You have a death benefit or a death certificate, you file that, and there's a promise to pay based on that. So we basically have two different plans that we offer to stack alongside an existing plan. One is a unlimited mini medical that covers every person in the family, no health questions, everybody gets it, right? So this is the thing that's pulling down and helping claims not hit that existing plan. The second plan, again, what Mitch talked about, was actually when you have a board-certified doctor that provides a true explanation of benefits on a medical event, and they give you medical advice tailored to you that actually pays you a claim just like if you broke your arm in the same type of scenario. That benefit paid, because it came from dollars that were already taxed, isn't a taxable event or income they receive while they have the benefit of the deduction. So it's kind of having like a Roth and a 401k, but in a health space, and actually having a net benefit of the larger tax savings and the cost that they pay.
Yeah, I mean, it does
So
take it 2 or 3 times, I'm sure, in a presentation. It makes perfect sense. When I went through the illustration with you guys, I was like, wow, that visually that makes perfect sense. And clearly you guys are doing something right. I mean, in order to be in the Dallas Cowboys stadium, have Jerry Jones endorse you guys, that's a big deal, man. How did you guys get there?
Well, I want to just clarify, I'm a Packers fan, so I do not condone or have any...
I gained so much respect for you just now by you making that statement. Yeah, I mean... We're not rooting for the Cowboys anymore.
I guess we'll say that they're good at taking our money, and they're good at giving us wins. So I'm happy with.
Jerry Jones is a money machine, man. So I would be a Cowboys fan if I got to do a deal with him to his face, and then I'd turn around and I'd say, "Screw the Cowboys."
I'm a Chicago Bear fan, which most high school teams could beat them. So I'm going to stay out of this conversation. Okay.
It's about the last year that you can say that for the next 10 years. Just so you know, you gotta.
Yep, and they've been saying that for the last 10 years. So yep.
Caleb Williams is different, man. He does paint his fingernails though, so you're in for an interesting one. But anyway, tell me, I've got a good one pending for you, but I want to know, how did you guys get into the Dallas Cowboys stadium? Obviously, you originally started. You're the owner of Affordacare. How did you make that deal happen to get into Cowboy Stadium?
You just gotta spend money. That's it. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we have a pretty cool picture in my office where it's the entire 190-foot billboard or whatever, that the whole thing, the biggest
so sick,
4K in the with our thing right there, during the practice or whatever. So it's really, really cool, that fact that just kind of, looking back again and kind of that like resume of the things that we've accomplished. And again, doing it through people like working with Mitch every day. And it's been really, really fun.
Yeah. I think that when you start a business, like, credibility is one of the hardest things, because when you're building, like, you kind of have to fake it till you make it. But in order to do a deal that's that size, you guys are doing something right, because they're definitely going to vet you out, make sure that you guys are the right company. But what I want to know is, how does a guy that's selling group health insurance plans to companies end up dating a UFC fighter? That's an interesting story for me.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a wild story. So I'm just like everybody. We all love social media, right? So I'm from the Midwest. So I'm from Iowa. And I followed a gal that fought out of that area.
Okay.
So yeah, I watched her on UFC, and she's a badass chick. So I kind of followed her, and as time went on, it just so happened that I was working where she was taking some college courses out in Portland, Oregon.
Nice.
So she basically knew I followed her because I was always commenting on things. She's on UFC Fight Pass. She fought for Invicta. She's got 25 professional fights. So she had noticed through social media that I was flying into the same area. And she's like, "What are you doing in Portland, Oregon?" I'm like, "I'm working." She's like, "Well, I'm out here doing some schooling. Let's go get dinner." So it's been history ever since. And
gentlemen, take notes, plant seeds.
Very interesting dating a fighter.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit weird taking someone to dinner that could kick your ass. It's like, okay.
Absolutely. She's a wild Italian woman. You don't want to piss her off.
It's okay. Rio's wife could kick my ass. She's a beast.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Actually, maybe we have those two maybe square off.
There you go.
See who goes, and then kind of
Dude, my wife hits hard.
What'd your wife just do, dude? She just swam. I know this is an older one, but like 2 years ago, she swam the bay. That's a pretty
San Francisco Bay.
Wow, that's
shark-infested waters.
That's cool.
Actually, all right, bringing that up. So I noticed you walked in here, blue suit, and you got some Hoka shoes on. So I mean, that's, you don't normally see that. So I imagine those are used for something.
I was told everyone's wearing suits today, and then you guys come in and do me wrong like this. So
I was told we weren't.
Who gave you guys that
misinformation?
misinformation?
No offense. No offense, dude, but I'd
We're
never
super
be caught
organized.
Does it rhyme with Hami Hang? Is that the person that gave you that misinformation?
I know this guy named Tommy Dang. But I don't know if that's who.
Hami Hang, Tommy Dang. That sounds right. Oh, we don't wear suits out here, man.
How far is that? Is that a Alcatraz kind of swim
Alcatraz.
distance or whatever?
Yeah, 2 miles.
Moon.
Okay.
What is that? Moon Bay?
What's that?
Moon Bay? What do they call that?
Moon Bay. Huh?
Where she swam from?
From Alcatraz.
To where?
I don't freaking know.
It's like Moonlight
was
Bay,
just
right?
there. I don't
Crescent
know.
Bay or something like that.
Well, to answer your question, the shoes. One, I didn't think that the cameras could see that, so I wasn't prepared for that.
They can't.
Well, now you got to show them.
Yeah,
because we'll
no,
crop
I mean they've been here the whole time with us.
Okay.
Either way,
And I can say I'm at a lot of events, and that's how he dresses.
Yeah.
I have some really nice blue shoes that you're gonna see tonight, and they're in their suitcase. So yeah, so. With your, I think just kind of like anything else, and kind of the theme is, if something is difficult, it's probably worth doing.
There you go.
And to, again, set yourself up. And so I started as a sprinter in college. And then, when you get old, there's nothing to do. It's not like, hey, let's all run to the track and run for a couple seconds and I'll go home. So it's really just like marathons and
golf
5Ks
and
and
pickleball.
stuff like that, right? So if you kind of want to like be competitive and active and heave that stuff, it's all long distance stuff.
Okay.
And so the idea was saying like, you see all the documentaries and stuff and like how difficult an Ironman is. And so I said, well, I, set out to do that. That was a huge goal of mine, to kind of just have that, that
Check
metaphorical lifetime kind of resume checkbox, right? And so when you're training for it, it's so much like business, right? Because you, like for someone who's not your wife, right? I mean, the last time most people have swam was probably in like middle school, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's very common. I hear all the time saying, oh, I could do everything, but like the swimming, I suck at swimming. And when you haven't done anything for 20 years, you're going to suck at it, right?
Yep.
So it's not about, I think, realizing like of where you are now. It's about if you put the effort in to be good at something you want to do, how well you can do. So long story short, a lot of years training for it. Finally, I've done 5 now. And the craziest part, right, where you're swimming 2.5 miles, you're doing a 112-mile bike ride, and then you're doing a marathon. And it's
Dude, I would get
it's a
off
lot
the
of-
bike at mile 5 and just fall on my face. I don't know about mile 5, maybe 15.
I knew
I
it
get
was
it.
not for
55,
me. 'Cause
yeah.
I'd get tired just watching him do
Yeah,
that stuff,
right.
man. So I was like, I was counted out on
No
that.
thanks. Yeah.
But we see it in the Olympics all the time, right? You're like, oh my God, that person is crazy or whatever. And it just means that you just haven't done it. So I think anyone's capable of whatever they want to do. But again, the trade-off is how many hundreds, if not thousands of hours did I spend and sacrifice other parts of my life not to do that? But then you look at it, it's like, what would I have done? I would have probably watched Netflix or done other stuff that you look back and there's nothing that you can attain from it. Like nobody's ever woken up or nobody's ever decided just to stay in at night and said 20 years later, my God, I'm glad I stayed in just so you
Right.
watch TV that night, right? Whereas the experiences, people you meet, you don't know, right? So putting yourself out, I think, is one of the best things you can do.
I agree with that, but no thanks. My thing's business. I want to do hard things in business, but I get you. So my wife, she doesn't understand business, complete opposites in that, but she's the same. So she does that. So she's next month doing the Big Bear 100-mile race, whatever.
Crazy.
And that's the farthest so far. She's done 50 miles.
Is that just running?
Yeah, just running. So she's done 50
wild.
miles is her farthest so far, but
That's amazing.
but it is, dude, like, and I love what you said in the beginning, because I see her every day pushing herself and the limits of her mind, and I've also got to see just how much that's changed her and expanded her mind and allowed her to do, to see, because we do some crazy stuff in business, and I'm a risk taker like to the max, and I've probably put my family at risk far too many times, but I'm not changing. It's who I
It's
am.
worked out well for you now.
I think,
Yeah.
It's
I think
in
what
your
I took
blood.
from that just there is you got to be really selective in picking your partner, because I mean, if you're going to go to war every single day and you have that partner that's taking care of your kids when you're gone, like you have to have somebody that can reciprocate that strength. And so
I agree 100%.
to be able to, because dude, his wife is phenomenal. Like one of the few and far between people that when you meet them, they're like, wow, you're an incredible person.
I really want to see them fight each other, actually, now. I think it'd be,
Dude, I'll show you
I think
some
it'd be pretty
videos,
close.
dude.
Yeah.
Like she can hit, dude. It's crazy. Yeah, she's a beast. But no, dude, that's so 9 Ironman. Is that what you said?
5 so far. I have my 6th one this October next month.
Where's the craziest place you've done one?
Nothing. I mean, in Galveston, that's where they've, the water's not super clean there, and they got legit sharks and stuff in there too that, isn't really that.
I was going to make a joke about how
Yeah,
beautiful the
there's
ocean
bull
was
sharks
over there. But
Oh, yeah, okay, well, now you can't do it.
Well, you got to realize, like, Steven's another breed. Like, I've literally been on calls with Steven before where we're on a conference call, okay? And I'm going over topics and, we're talking with the C-suite of people. And I can hear that Steven's doing something. And after that call, I'll go, Steve, what were you doing? He's like, I just ran 14 miles, man. He's literally talking on the phone, going through a conference, running 12 to 14 miles. I'm like, what? I was tired tying my shoes, man, that call, and you're running 14 miles hosting a conference call.
I wasn't steering the stuff.
I might have to hit you back on that one and see how that works, because I can't sit still when I'm on calls. It's the funniest thing ever. Like, you can ask Tommy; he's on calls with me all the time, and I'm literally like, my camera's off, or I'm outside running in a circle, and I'm just like, I can't sit still. So
treadmill desk, right?
treadmill desk. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea then.
And then what it does is it actually helps you keep your tier 2 heart rate, kind of that where you can have that conversation breathing, of where you kind of want to train for your metabolizing kind of levels and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty.
Makes sense.
I like it.
So
dual purpose.
how did this partnership materialize? Have you guys been best friends for a long time, or what's the deal?
Beyond long time.
Yeah. I mean, this goes back 17 years. We were like a lot of agents that start out, man. You try to go and find a company where you can make a bunch of money, and a lot of times it doesn't work out that way.
In life or health?
And we were in the health space.
Okay.
Well, dude, tell them what we did. But like, of all the things we've ever done and accomplished, there's a special part of me that's more proud of how we started than anything else we've accomplished.
It was so wild, man. We started out, we didn't have insurance background. We got involved in it, got licensed, and we did the old-fashioned door-to-door sales. Literally, all we did all day long, knock on doors. And we worked for the same company. Now, we did well. I mean, we broke company records. We did awesome. But at the end of the day, we had more of an entrepreneurial spirit. And we ended up, just kind of going our separate ways, creating this brokerage. But I can tell you, we went through like the trenches, like the hardest way possible to sell insurance, right?
It's a tough world to navigate.
Yeah.
And this is like a no lead based thing. Most of these doors were literally like, hey, you don't know me. I'm this cute little guy named Mitch. Can I come in your house? And, so tell them some of your craziest stories you've had. People that you've knocked on doors and stuff.
Hundreds of crazy stories.
Mitch is blushing. He's like, he just called me cute.
We talk about this all the time. We need to write a
here.
book of like a chicken noodle soup of what we did for all these doors. Like, we need to have so many stories that we just need to put on a book, because we're gonna get Alzheimer's before you know it, and we gotta like remember the stuff, right?
It's the wildest way of doing it. We would go and we would prospect areas to go sell insurance, and we would use plat maps. Plat maps just shows who owns the property.
Right.
So you would go up to this door and you'd knock on the door and you'd go, hey, you must be Mary. And the lady would go, Mary died 27 years ago and gave me this land. And I'm like, oh, well, what's your name? Hi.
Yeah.
So we were always running into that issue. But just the people that we would run into, it was crazy. I remember one time I was in Wisconsin and I go and I go up to the door and I knock, and there's a giant bullet hole in the door.
Right.
And I can see the dude through the bullet hole. So I knock on the door.
That's the last guy that knocked.
Yeah, that was the last,
Right?
that was the last cancer insurance guy that showed up, right? I'm like, oh, I'll be the second bullet hole because I'm the little guy, right?
Yeah.
So I knock on the door. I go in there, and this guy he's literally sitting in his chair, and I can tell he's missing one arm and he's missing one leg, and he's got newspapers over top of his lap.
Diabetic or vet?
He was a war vet.
Oh, okay.
Super cool guy. Love this guy. But it was just a wild story because we're sitting there and he's in his wheelchair and I'm going through this product, and he just kind of squirming around and he's just like, you got to hold on a second. And he takes the newspapers off and he's butt naked.
Oh, nice.
So then he tries to jump to his chair.
Right.
Doesn't quite make it. So the good salesman that I am, I'm lifting this guy into his chair and helping this dude out. And it was just stuff like that we saw like every single day.
I have a similar story to that, but I was knocking on his door and calling him because I had an appointment.
Yeah.
And we already made a deal. I'm just going to fast forward to the end of the story. We helped him get off the pot.
Okay.
Wow.
So you know what I did.
It was disturbing, and he was a hoarder. So it was like the worst thing possible.
This guy was a hoarder, but he hoarded guns. He had hundreds of guns all over the place.
If I had two of my four extremities, I would be a hoarder too.
What was the bullet
I would
hole?
be like, I'm just gonna sit
a
here.
misfire from him.
So
or?
he was a gun dealer. So this guy sold guns, and he had a client that came there to sell a gun, and there was still I asked him about it. I'm like, you got to tell me, man, about the gun hole. He's like, oh yeah, this guy had a bullet in the gun, and it went off. I'm like, it just went off? Like, your neighbor's right there. Like, it went into the neighbor's house. Like,
Well, also you knocked on the Netflix movie or series a couple of years ago.
Story's crazy.
Wait, who?
Making a Murderer.
This is crazy. You got to hear this story.
Yes, okay.
So I was working in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, right? And once again, I'm door to door. So I'm going door to door, and I go onto this auto salvage place. And nice people. I walked in, sat in their garage, and I ended up selling a small insurance plan to this older gentleman. Well, about a year and a half later, I'm at home and I'm watching Netflix, and it says Making a Murderer on there. And it says the trial of Stephen Avery, and I see the building. That's the place that I sold the insurance plan on, man. That was where the murders occurred. So I remember sitting with that dude. He was showing me swords and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. I was at that guy's place.
You've never watched it.
I apologize for my ignorance on this, but
I know we're gonna
is
talk
the guy
about
that
this.
you sold, is he the murderer or the murdered?
His dad. I sold the dad.
His dad is the murderer.
No, the son was the murderer, but I sold the dad the insurance plan, and the son was there hanging out with us. So he showed me these swords, and I'm like, dude, I got to get out of this door-to-door stuff, man. So I ended up
Dude, you're almost the next victim, bro.
Yeah.
Literally,
You could have been on that Netflix.
You need to watch that show if you haven't seen it
I
yet.
remember exactly the scene photos. I was in the chair.
30 more minutes and you would have been in that show.
Could
And
have been
all the
part
wrong
of that
ways.
Making a Murderer.
You've been the skeleton in the bottom of the scrapyard. Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, Dad, I'll see him out to the
It
backyard.
was so wild. Though. To, like see that, I was like, I literally could have.
What were you
up
saying?
that guy.
I said you gotta watch that show if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you gotta watch it, man. It's wild.
I mean, it was
It's
like
absolutely
trending
wild.
#1 for like many months. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it again
I'll
just
check
to
it out.
see where you were sitting.
Well, when I seen it, I just went ghost white. I'm like, dude, I remember sitting in that chair in that garage with that guy.
So a lot of these stories, I mean,
It was crazy.
it is crazy hearing about the start of businesses because I mean, Rio and I can probably speak on something similar. Like our business has started in 1,000 square foot apartment with 10 guys, like whatever it is around a kitchen table. But yeah, like my guys have knocked on Nate Diaz's house out in Stockton, California. That's a crazy one.
I love that guy.
But to see it start there, because there's so many companies that are knocking on doors, selling insurance. Like, how did you guys get out of that and create what you guys have created to this day? Because Affordacare is no small deal.
well, it went from literally and I love the part of it. Like, I think the best stories are the ones that are difficult, have humble beginnings, and that are challenged because it relates to that. Like, if they're making a movie, there's the single biggest goal that I have, and I'm putting out in the universe, to have like Hollywood make a movie about your life, right? And assuming it's not like a Wolf of Wall Street where you do something illegal, right? But two things need to happen. It needs to be super, super difficult, and it needs to be massively successful. Otherwise, right? If you woke up, made $1 billion, no story, no
excitement.
difficulty,
No
no hard shit, right? And if you just did mediocre and it was hard, then that's not very impressive either. So both those things need to exist. So when I look at kind of, again, the journey of, hey, we did it the hardest way possible. And then through that process was just how can we innovate a little bit better, a little bit bigger. And so it went from a single individual door knocking experience to one person issuing one policy or one sale to saying the only way that you make money is by helping people. And the more people you help, the more money you inversely make, right?
Best businesses do.
Right. So to help more people, you need to reach more people. And through that, now one business owner, I remember like our first 100-person group and how exciting that was. And I remember the very first time we ever were approached or whatever. It's like, oh, we got a 500-person group. And it's like, we're like, oh yeah, we can do that. No problem. Hang up the phone. It's like, I have no idea how to do this at all. Right. And now, groups with, a comment in them in 5 figures is like almost like a weekly occurrence. And it's just so crazy to have seen that, but also appreciating that journey and not taking that for granted of,
Yeah.
Who
where
were
you
some
were.
of your guys' biggest vendors that people would know, like household names?
A lot of them that are really, really cool, we have NDAs with, and it's from other brokerages that we don't have. So
When you show me the presentation that has all those companies, is that Champ or is that Affordacare? Both? How does that work?
It is both, yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of major fast food chains were probably, I would say every one in every couple hundred people in the U.S. actually already has this plan. You just don't know it, and sometimes it's just a benefit that's in their stuff and they don't even know, right? But really popular with a lot of tech spaces. If you guys know what a PEO is, it's did you ever pass your insurance exam, Mitch?
Yeah.
Which one? The life and health?
Yeah.
We're
And a PEO? Oh, shoot.
we're big into.
You're fired.
And there's two things I kind of wanted to touch on too. And you talked about how we created this. One thing I think that's super important is creating that culture.
Yeah.
Because man, we worked for companies that just did not hold integrity, and it was tough to work for them. The other thing is everybody wants to be part of something, right?
Yep.
So you create a good culture, make them feel like family, which that's truthfully, we're not just doing that. These people are our family.
Absolutely.
We treat them like family. We know all their friends, their family, all that stuff, and we create a great culture. So they want to be part of something. And I think that's why we've grown exponentially with 58 locations, over how many 10,000 contracted agents, but we're affiliated with over probably 30 to 40,000.
Yeah.
To
answer your question, the PEO is a professional employer organization. It's just a holding of potentially thousands of different companies. And so when we basically get one of these, there's thousands of companies that come with it.
What state do you live in?
Texas.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's not the same material isn't out here. I was wondering. I'm like, dude, I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
the insurance.
I knew you knew. I didn't want to put you on the spot though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that would be kind of an example where there's an insane number of people, right? And that would have taken probably like 70 years of door knocking to hit that single number of people that one phone call did. And so when you get this part, it was like, how are these people making like billions of dollars, and just the whole concept where Bill Gates bends down and he loses money by picking up $100 bill kind of analogy, right? It's just the value of your time grows because the influence you have, I think,
Yep.
adds value with that. So it's so much word of mouth now. And this entire process, I think we've done this with probably less than like $1,000 year to date of probably just over about $100 million in revenue, less than $1,000 of actually marketing expense that we've ever put out for like Facebook ads.
Dude,
It's
that's
been
awesome.
Complete word of mouth,
That's
references,
that's
things
hard
like
to
that.
do.
So
It is a lot of word of mouth, and it's being able to establish a partnership with businesses that can give you a credible introduction to the business that they already have a relationship with, rather than going out and just knocking on door after door after door, just like everybody else is doing. You got to have that credible connection to introduce you to the business, and then it just blows up from there.
Absolutely.
So you guys obviously didn't do this alone. You guys need people working under you to spread the word and to get out there. So we talked about how Champ Plan can help business owners, but for somebody looking for like an opportunity, like a job, like what's the opportunity for them to?
Well, I would say working alongside or next to us or with us.
Amen.
Because when you're doing that, and there's a trade-off, right? You need to add enough value to bring something to somebody, right? So a lot of the people we work with, again, like with you guys, like the big thing I loved about what you guys is your history, with the solar and how well you've done, right? And so it's like a lot of our business owners have buildings, right? They need solar, they need other things that are no-brainer scenarios, just like what we do, right? Yeah. So by, again, finding ways and people that, hey, we potentially have a ton of clients you have, and vice versa, and a lot of other connections, it's so much more easier to build it organically. So instead of kind of like working for us, I would say like, how can we start by adding value to you? And then if you're something that you see value in us, do it that way.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like a dick for saying that. Thanks.
Well,
It's okay. It's
and
okay.
the one thing I wanted to add too is leading by example. There's a lot to be said about that, man. You can go work for a company, they're just going to tell you what to do, but they never demonstrate exactly how it should be, and show them the actual success. That's where people break through, is when you can actually get in the trenches with them, show them that, hey, our sales process does work. Let me show you how it works. There's a lot to be said about that, because a lot of these companies don't want to do that. They put you in a classroom. They go do this, and you're going to make $1 million.
Absolutely,
well,
yeah.
It's all bull.
Drink the Kool-Aid, take this one piece of paper script, and go figure it out. And we're here for you, by the way. And when you leave 3 months later because you never got paid, you didn't have good training, and you fall off and you leave the industry, you're the guy that you knock on the door, call, and he's like, I hate salespeople. Why? Why do you hate salespeople? Because some guy recruited me, and he had no clue what he was doing. He didn't care about me. Didn't care about my success. He just cared about having one more number thrown at the wall. If I stuck, I stuck, and if I didn't, I didn't. Dude, that's what we do all day, every single day. Tommy's no stranger to how I talk to these guys that we're bringing in, but it's like, all the time that when we talk to people it's like, oh, I want to stay loyal to my company. I don't want to leave. And I'm like, dude, when was the last time that you had a one-on-one training? When was the last time that you had a KPI or opportunity or expectation meeting about your success and where you're not going right? When was the last time that your leader went out and actually did it with you? When was it? Perfect. And they're always like, well, we had good training at the beginning. We meet like once a week on Zoom. I haven't met with the guy that recruited me in months, and I'm not making any money right now, but I really want to stick with where I'm at and figure it out. And I'm like, dude.
Exactly. I see that all the time. We recruit agents that are in that same position. And me as a human being, I hate seeing people go through that, because they got kids, they got bills, they've got
You ruin their life.
Yeah, man.
If you don't have integrity as a leader and you don't lead from the front, you're just a manager who ain't worth shit.
That's
You
why
go get a job at McDonald's and manage how to push burgers, not people, because
Exactly.
you shouldn't be managing people.
100%. And that's why all of our leadership team, all of our regional directors, everybody that we're affiliated with, they get in the trenches with our agents.
I can tell.
And they go and they do it, and they demonstrate success, and that's why we've got a great conversion ratio of people who are successful with us.
I think the reason I respected you guys a lot, I mean, I definitely had heard a lot about you and your reputation, and I respected it a lot, but to have the owner and operator get on a call and be the one, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and I know his schedule is very, very busy, but, you know, like, that shows that you guys really, really care about that personal connection and the value. And he's not going to let somebody else, I'm not going to say Tommy would ruin the deal, but he's not going to let him, he's going to help him make sure that he gets that deal. Because he cares not only about his success, but also us knowing the value in your program. Absolutely. And that speaks volumes.
Why were we 20 minutes late starting this deal?
Because you were helping a different company.
Because we both had different times to have it. Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
We were working with agents. That's what we're doing.
I think the cool thing about everything that you guys are saying is regardless of what industry you're in, I mean, you guys are what? You started 17 years ago. I'm going to guess like 35, 37, 38.
Oh, Mitch is old.
I'm old, man. I'm halfway to 80.
I'm 36 and he's older than that.
So the last couple meetings that we had, I mean, we had Cam Bodden sitting in here, owner Green Mango. He told us something similar. He started in 2010, ate shit till 2016, made zero money. One of the largest in Arizona now in pest control. Yep. Tommy Mello, another one. I think you know him.
Oh yeah.
You know, bought a company $50,000 in debt. Really wasn't anything until 2016, 2017. Took about 10 years to get there. And it's a similar story of what you guys said. It's a similar story from where we come from. And I'm not saying like we're as big as Mello or even, you know, some of the stuff you guys are doing. But what's cool is when you find good people that have a similar like mind and they can find alignment in their life, you might be coming from different walks of life. But if you have that same goal at the end and you can surround yourself with those people, you can build anything. And I think it's the coolest when you hear stuff like what you guys are saying is it's like, yeah, dude, this is where we started in like a small little apartment. And you stick to it, you find consistency. And if you find good people, you create a good culture and you're providing value, it's impossible to fail. It's just a matter of time. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about your guys' story today.
Thank you.
What would you guys say for, you know, somebody that, I know he touched on it a little bit as far as the opportunity for someone to come in, but I think this is a great platform for people that want to get into sales, but because these are a lot of the people I speak with. I'm not aggressive, man. I don't like to push stuff. I don't want to screw somebody over. I don't want to finance something because the financing industry is kind of messed up upside down right now. How can I come into this program, this opportunity, be convicted in what you do and know that I'm helping people while also knowing I'm building some type of financial freedom for myself?
Yeah. You want to maybe each give an answer?
Yeah, you go
maybe
first.
it'd be different.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we're looking for isn't necessarily the relationship and connections they currently have, but their willingness to have it. This is probably what we're doing is probably the highest level of sales where most of the people are, I'd say, more experienced, are older, probably at least 8 to 12 years of insurance experience, and is probably an existing broker that has an existing client list, right? And it doesn't matter if it's insurance or if it's roofing or if it's stuff, but if people like you, know you, respect you, and you have a sphere of influence that is trusted, those are the people that we want to work with, because not only on a two-way vesting street with it, but those are people that are going to have the most success the quickest when they can actually walk in with the track record they already have.
Nice.
And yeah.
Yeah, and I guess my take on it is I live and die by culture and integrity, because I've seen it not that way for so long. And you see, like you said, you see so many people fail. They get full of false promises. You got to remember, our platform, our training platform, what we bring to the table is a lot of failure, but it's a lot of success now. So we went through all those hard times. We've gone through what all these agents are being put through. So we got to be the guinea pigs for that, right? We know what doesn't work and we know what does work. Now, if you can take the things that you know work and integrate that into a good culture with some integrity, you're not going to fail as long as you're willing to work, right? Like if you're lazy, we can't help you, man. We can put awards and incentives and cars and all these fancy things in front of you, but if you just can't get off your ass.
Yeah, the top 20% are going to work. The bottom 80% need to see something shiny in order to do it.
But
yeah.
we feel we have the foundation with the integrity and the culture and the things that work. If you're willing to work, yeah, like we can roll with that because we will get in the trenches and lead by example. But even if it isn't working with us, you got to have all those metrics in place with all those other companies that you get in bed with.
Mitch is like the funniest person ever to work with too. Like that, the thing you kind of miss is like how much you just enjoy working with Mitch, and that's something that I think just goes without. And shout out to Tommy Mello too. Yeah. Awesome dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your guys' connection
smart.
there?
Actually, he actually knows about this plan inside and out action. We've actually like 6 other people that have all through different spheres. Like, you know, Tommy, it's like, yeah, I was there 2 years ago kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, through his kind of seeing his journey and everything has been awesome. Right. And then obviously locally right here for you guys. So really, really cool dude.
Yeah, he's spectacular, man. I can't say enough good things about him, but
Can't say enough good things about Mitch either.
I can't say enough good things about all you guys.
Yeah.
Everyone's great here.
well, you're in Arizona, so just be careful. That's all I'm gonna say. There's
I've
a lot
only
of.
been here a day, so
I want
This is a
to
good first impression.
real quick talk about something close to my heart because I was just told about it. So my first supercar was a poor boy's McLaren. I had a 570S, but I heard you have a McLaren.
Yeah, I thought about 570, whatever, too. And actually, well, there's 2 versions of the story. The reason I didn't get a 570 is because there's somebody that we work with, and he had a 570, so I needed to outdo him by a couple hundred horsepower above that. But actually, the cool story on this, if we still got time, is my dream car when the Iron Man movie first came out, and Tony Stark, and they had the Audi R8. And so I was in probably high school, I think,
Such a
then.
good movie.
And we saw one drive by for the first time at like spring break, and there was like 5 of my friends with me, right? And we all grew up in this little town, and they drove by and they all said, "That's a nice car. I know I'll never have one." And I said, "That's a nice car. Someone is making that car for somebody.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to earn that?"
Right.
Yeah.
And so how I got the first job working with Mitch was they said you could potentially make like $100,000, and I was making like $12 an hour, and I was like, this would be freaking crazy, right? So I look at it as, I don't care what I need to do, how hard I need to work. If that is your true end goal, destiny that you absolutely have cemented, and there's no compromise to that, there's no amount of doors. Like if I hit 1 in every 500 doors, I know if I just knock 1,000 doors, I get 2 sales. Like to that level of just complete, utterly focused on that, right? Yeah. And so I finally got that R8. And then when we started, and kind of a lot of the growth of the Affordacare, there was a lot of expenses. There was a lot of really, just dumb things that we invested in, just thoughts, people we worked with that weren't very good, right? So I ended up being so far in debt that I actually had to sell that car, and it was to sell my dream car to keep the dream company alive. Yeah. And then, about 2 years ago, upgrade past that or whatever, and it's a really bittersweet because it shows full circle when you believe in yourself enough to let it happen and believe in yourself.
That's a dope story. I like that. What do you have? 765, is that what you have?
No, that's 720.
720.
Yeah, 720.
Okay, that's a beautiful car.
I think the thing I took from that, a little bit off topic, but that I love the most is that manifestation and gratitude. It's so important, but it's funny because in today's culture, it's kind of made fun of. There's a new progressive culture or a new progressive commercial where they make fun of a girl for saying, "I'm practicing my gratitude and affirmation." And I think it's because it's been so, what's the word? It's all over social media now, so it's so watered down when people hear that they really don't know what it means. The most powerful thing that ever happened to me was the day that I got into insurance. And I flew out to Arizona, a guy sat me down and taught me about the power of gratitude, writing things down, being intentional. And I felt like a fraud because I was like, dude, he had me write down on a piece of paper that I'm a money magnet that attracts people that are highly motivated around me. And I'm like, dude, I'm broke. I have negative $200 in my bank account. What are you making me do? And he's like, you need to write down the things that you're grateful for, because anything that you aren't grateful for, you're going to lose. And you need to remember what it is that you have, and you'll realize how great you have it. And vice versa, you need to start that self-talk, that language that anything that you want, it is yours. You just need to fill the gap. And this is kind of the last thing I wanted to end on for you guys is it's crazy as you guys see, you guys see all the people that we work with. Everybody has these self-limiting beliefs. I still have major self-limiting beliefs, but in order to see and do the things that you guys have done, you have to work through that regardless. It's not like you guys have any less doubt than anybody else. It's not like you guys had all the answers when you guys first started. You said it yourself. It's the hardest thing you've ever done in life. And so, number one, manifestation and gratitude, it is real. But I think the biggest thing about when you hear guys like you say talk about stuff like that, when you wrote that down, or I forget what it was, when you saw that car and said, I'm going to make that happen, is it's the action behind that. A lot of people just want to say stuff because they hear that it's cool to set affirmations. Yeah. Not a lot of people are willing to put in the work. So with that being said, what is something that, and I'll go with you first actually, what if you're speaking to your 20-year-old self right now, looking back on the growth that you guys have had over the last 17 years, what's your biggest piece of advice to that 20-year-old self right now?
My advice to that person would be if you want to be successful, you got to be around successful people. I was surrounded by I had big hopes and dreams my whole life. And I had those same stories, man. I came from a middle class family, didn't have a lot of money. And I saw all these nice boats and nice vehicles and big homes. And I'm like, I'm going to have that someday. But I'm surrounded by I was surrounded by so many closed-minded people that just did everything they could do to bring you to their level. And if you stick around those kind of people, man, they're going to rob you of what your potential is. It really is. And once I finally realized, man, I got to get rid of these anchors.
Yep.
And I started putting myself in front of people who truly were like-minded, had big hopes and dreams. It took off from there. And it built my confidence. It made me realize that this is truthfully attainable.
Yeah.
And that's what that's really my best advice to my old self was, man, I wish I'd have got rid of those anchors earlier. So
Yeah.
That's the best advice that I think that I could have possibly had. You can ask him first
Yeah.
account. I had a lot of anchors when I first met him,
man,
and he was like, dude, you got to set that
they're
stuff
like
free,
a
man.
disease.
Yeah.
They're going to hold you right in place. That's where they're going to be.
Did you ever see that Snoop Dogg interview where he said, when I started basically down here with people I grew up with. And so as I grew, the only way for these people to be on my level is for them to either go with me or I had to go back down to their level.
Yep.
And so there's resentment because you can never see eye to eye again after that. And so I think it's a perfect thing to your point. My advice would be, especially to my any age self, even a day ago self, was I think I can isolate a lot of, if I took the 4 worst days of my life where there was a huge business thing that happened, a major change in your life, right? Where you would have, for instance, my job that I was super happy with doing, that actually caused me to go out to get this interview that I did to start working with Mitch, I would have worked there the rest of my life. And if I hadn't been effectively let go from that, I would have never even put myself out there. So my advice would be, the worst day of your life, you don't even know that it actually, in theory, is actually probably meant to be your best day of your life, and changes you and motivates you to go out and do things you would have never done with that external pressure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not to be the idiot here. I'm going to need you to say that one more time because I got exactly what you said, but I actually want to hear it all the way through because I get what you were saying. But can you say that one more time for me?
So looking back through all the worst things I've ever been through, those experiences caused me to put myself in a position I never would have put myself in if it wasn't for that external push.
I got you.
I'll give you an example. I mean, I same thing. We were with a company, not going to mention names, and we didn't align with them. So essentially, we were let go. Making $350,000, $400,000 a year, and that was like the worst day of ever, right? Like we're kind of like, my God, the world's coming to an end. Looking back, that was the greatest damn thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Was losing a $350,000 job because it led us to be more independent. It opened up our entrepreneurial spirit, and now here we are.
But no one ever leaves that job on their own free will.
They don't.
Right?
They just stay there, and that's where they're at. And maybe they're comfortable, but that's not where I was comfortable at. So that worst day led us to where we're at now.
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, where would we be? We'd still be there.
And so what that allows me to do then is to realize future things that may also feel like the worst day of my life were maybe put there to put myself in a level I would have never been without that.
Yeah, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I mean, there's a saying that he's only going to put, you probably know it better than I do, but he's only going to give his greatest battles to his greatest warriors. And if you can't get through that battle or that war, he wouldn't have put it in front of you. And so,
Yes.
yeah, it is a great thing to think about, is that if you're going through a valley in your life right now where things are low, like you're only going through that because of the potential to pull you out and the character that it's going to develop within you. I agree with what you said. The day that I got into life insurance, it's because my girlfriend gave me an ultimatum because I got arrested and kicked out of school. She said, you're either going to figure it out, man up, and find a job that you can make money, or you can stay out in San Diego and we can break up. And I was like, all right, well, that is an ultimatum right there. I'm going to get myself into something where I can make some money then. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing that ever happened because I got arrested and I was like, oh, woe is me. Like, life sucks. But had that not happened, same thing. I probably would have stuck out in San Diego, hung out with the same people that still live with their parents, grandparents, that do nothing in life. And so,
What's yours, Rio? Can you think of one?
Oh, dude, I can think of 77.
I pick one.
I mean, 7 years ago now, I had trusted somebody that it turns out I shouldn't have trusted. He was a family member, and he needed my help to go help build his business. So I jumped in there, and we immediately started building the business and doing better. And within 9 months, he decided he didn't need me anymore after that. And so that was a time in my life where the house that I owned, that another story, but my daughter was born there. Like, I didn't have a choice. I had to sell it. Had zero choice. Thankfully, we didn't lose it, but I had to sell it fast. I had to move my family, which I have a very large family, into my parents' house, sleep on a bed that, like, I slept on my child's, like a kid's bed where my feet are hanging off, just so my parents' house isn't that big, so my wife and kids can have the bed. And, you know, we made like not a lot of money, a little money off the house. So we had a little bit, but it was one of those things where it's like, this sucks really bad, but I can use this time to just grind my face off. And I literally grinded my face off for 12 months, just not having a good time there. Wife just having a really hard struggle because she had her kids who couldn't really be there as much, so they had to stay with their dad, so she didn't get to see them that much. So extremely difficult. Her car being dragged out of my parents' driveway multiple times, having to go get the repo back, you know, doing that. And within 12 months of that time, well, it was like 13 months, I made my first $1 million.
Wow.
And it was because I grinded my face off day and night, day up all night.
I love stories like that.
That's incredible, yeah.
And now you're talking about, you know, if they were to make a movie, like almost makes me emotional. But my wife had said that, like this is your book. This is your book. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, and same thing, you know, we deal with, or I should say I deal with, I'm sure you guys do too, a lot of these young guys, even Daniel, super young kid. And it's funny how you see when struggles happen, because they still happen. They're happening daily in business. But, you know, you see, I'm 43 now, and it's like you see these kids going through a struggle and just in it, just like, oh my gosh, the world is ending. And I'm like, bro, this ain't shit, dude. Like, just give it a day or two. You're gonna
embrace
be
that
fine.
struggle.
Yeah. And it's fun to watch from this point now. Not to say I don't have any more struggles ahead of me, but it's almost like you welcome them now. And I don't know if you guys know Dan Fleischman, but we did a podcast with him yesterday.
This seat or this seat?
This seat right here.
All right, good.
And
no, I love Dan. I know him well.
Yeah. And literally, that's what he said yesterday. He was like, you know, with everything I've been through, all the ups and downs, he's like, I wake up every morning and I welcome the challenges. I look forward to the challenges because it's like once you learn it, once you understand it, once you know, like, yeah, this happened for a reason, and this challenge, I'm only going to get better from it. I'm only going to grow from it. It's like you almost start like, bring it, let's go.
It's just part of the process.
Yeah.
I had a hard time realizing that, but when you do, those struggles aren't so bad anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you for
Well,
sharing
it's
that.
amazing you had
story.
Dan on here because the last time I saw Dan, he was interviewing Kevin Hart. So that puts you in pretty good company of where you're at with him. So
I'm going to wrap up with this, my one piece of advice. And I'm 24, I'm about to be 25. So I don't have a lot of the tenure that you guys have, you know. But I would say the one thing that Rio taught me quickly, I mean, he taught me a lot. My answer would be the same as his. Like, I've got so many things I would tell people, but none of anything of what we said matters if we care more about what people think about us than we can execute. And I think that's been the biggest thing in my life personally. Like, even to this day, like, I still struggle with that. The perception, like, young people, social media, all this stuff. We live in a world where you need to put on this face, this front, and authenticity is lost in this world. And so I think that you need to be authentically real with yourself, and you need to check yourself, check your environment. And you need to say, is where I'm at right now, is it going to get me to where I want to go? Are the people that I'm hanging around with right now, are they pushing me to what I want to pursue? And if it's not, you need to change lanes and get out of it. Otherwise, you're going to realize you're never going to escape the 9-to-5 rat race that you're in right now, or the poverty or the low income. It's never going to change. You have to make the change yourself. And if you don't make that change, that's what you're signing up for life. So is the challenge or is the pain a greater struggle for you? And I would say I would rather have the hard struggle be the challenge in front of me than dwelling in the pain that, you know, the environment that I found myself in. You can get yourself out. It's the stair steps that you create, and the mindset that you have is going to get you out of that. So you can't get anywhere unless you realize that you have to go all in on yourself like they did, because sitting at a counter, sitting in your parents' house, it's probably not the most attractive thing in the world, but you have to go through the hard in order to get yourself out. And so I loved having you guys on today. Amazing guests. You guys had some really, really cool stories that you guys shared with us. I hope everybody that watches this, they can pull at least 1 or 2 or 3 things from this. But Thank you guys again for coming out here all
Thanks
the
for
way
having
from
us.
all the way from
Dude,
Texas.
I love it.
What are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, what's your wife cooking tonight?
So she's cooking or she's fighting? We gotta
Well,
get that squared away.
it's both. It's both. Whoever wins gets to eat.
Perfect.
Exactly.
And no, we have a whole conference we're actually doing with about 50 of our agents out here this week of kind of our top performers. And again, it's that feeling loved, giving
It's the culture.
Yeah, giving the culture back, but also just, again, like celebrating the successes and kind of some sneak peeks of what's ahead and kind of what we have kind of in store with them. So we try to do that at least once a quarter, ideally once a month, where you have a big Airbnb or some kind of area to kind of just have everybody kind of forced to interact with each other and really have a real intimate relationship for a couple months.
It's the recharge.
Awesome.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is shout out to Tommy Dang for putting this whole thing together, man. We really appreciate you. Justin Boyer in the house as well. Yeah. Thank you guys. That's going to be a wrap here today from the Playbook.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.